Start streaming. Okay. And we're live, I think. Here we go. There we go. It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha! And I did that without coughing. Barely. Okay. So, sorry, hang on. The microphone must be in the correct, vaguely erect position, or I pop and overmodulate. So, what is that noise? Oh, it's a lawnmower, of course. Hey, Ice Highwind. Okay, people are coming. So, I can switch to the chat soon. I have this fancy thing that I figured out kind of how to do. If I move over a bit, I can show the chat now. I tried this out in the feedback session on Wednesday, and people were like, it's a little too small, so okay. The beta version kind of worked. Can I move up a little bit? No. Okay. It's split. Oh, Yosei woke up from his nap. Their nap. I don't know what gender you identify as, Yosei. I apologize. I go Yosei and I think Yoshi, and I go Yoshi, bang, and automatically assume, which is weird because Yoshi's male, but Yoshi lays eggs. Nintendo characters tend to be quite genderqueer, right? Like, that's why we love Nintendo. We don't think too hard about these things. Okay, Yoshi's a dude. So, actually, everybody's a dude to me. Dude is a gender-neutral term to me. And people have fought me on this, the idea of dude or guy being a gender-neutral term. But all I can really talk about is how I use it. Everything, like when somebody says something, Patches is here, yay, Patches! I promised Patches a musical interlude, so Patches has arrived. The amazing Patches has arrived. Ha! There we go. Patches has a song now. Oh, Patches, your theme is a Mighty Mouse theme. Here I come to save the day. No, I have not seen that, Sweetra. I promised Oron I would talk about, exposition, Yosei. Yosei means fairy. Okay, there's Oron. Wow, I said his name and he appeared. I know Oron's a guy. I promised him I'd talk about the CNN thing. So we would be doing that. The next big game I'm looking forward to. Oh man, the next one, I don't know what the next one is. The two I'm super stoked for right now are Tropico, is it 6? Yeah, and Beyond Good and Evil 2, and the new Metroid game. Those are the three coming up that I'm looking forward to. And Days Gone, and New God of War. The minute anybody says, what game are you looking forward to, you're always gonna get a list of like 8 or 9 games. Because I am like one of those people who are just like, I love games! And there's always a million games that I'm looking forward to playing. I'm trying to think now. Looking forward to that A Way Out game. There's new Metroid coming out that I'm excited about. Mario and Rabbids. Mario Odyssey. There's so many games that you missed 2 songs, Tomas. We had a Feedback Friday song and a Patches song and the Mighty Mouse theme. What else am I interested in? There's a bunch of things I've been following. I've kickstarted a few games. What's the one I kickstarted? Kinseed. It's by some ex-Lionhead developers and it looks really cute. It's like retro, but it's got this, you know, we hear over and over again that things, your choices change the world, but I have not seen the red pill yet. I have not, just because I want to be in an objective mind frame about it. And Tropico, yeah, I would say Tropico 5 was, I actually preferred Tropico 4 to Tropico 5, and I can't tell you why. I just found it more fun. It does change iteratively. What are these keys, Sweetra? Oh, is this a video link? And I haven't heard much about Vampire, but I did, yeah, State of Decay 2 looks fun. I made a lot of fun of it, but then I realized who am I kidding? I'm gonna play it, you know? See, I like games like that where you can just mow down a shit ton of zombies because it's enemies you can kill and not feel bad about it. So what do I do with this thing you gave me? Just post it into my browser, Sweetra? What do I do? Sorry, I don't know these things. Tell me what I do. Anyway, I'm gonna do Oron's CNN thing. What are the things? I mean, I've been tweeting about it quite a bit. The whole CNN thing. So my opinion of it should be no surprise. Where do I begin? The problem is people are like, yeah, but. So let me tell you what I originally think about Trump initially posting the meme. I am very concerned that, you know, the US president is thin-skinned and prone to being easily provoked. That is a concern. Now, that is concerning enough that we do not have to take the step that CNN did, which was imply that a meme with wrestling, specifically superimposing the CNN logo over Vince McMahon's head, was somehow inciting violence against reporters. Now, this sounds kind of foolish to me. This sounds like an exceptional stretch. Because, first of all, everybody knows wrestling's not real, right? We all know that. Also, it's Vince McMahon, who's the owner of the company. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump didn't actually beat him up. You guys have noticed this morning that I posted a thing about cats wrestling. Now, CNN's response was amateur hour. Yeah, wrestling's not real. I get your name. I almost read it. That's like one of those. Is there a mill here? Milkshake. Anybody got a milkshake? You know, that red thing. The way CNN handled it, and Gizmodo actually broke down what happened. They did a story on what happened with the whole thing. And apparently that line that everybody took as a dox threat was inserted at the insistence of a manager or a lawyer or something like that, that they wanted to say, we reserve the right, if he continues, to possibly release the information later, which, I mean, this is the problem with legacy media. They really don't understand how the internet works, and they see it as exposing a terrible person, right? Judgment. Okay, they take what people say on the internet more literally than the rest of us do. Hi, Lotador. And so they ended up looking like jackasses. I mean, the Gizmodo article basically said, you know, this is a lesson in how not to PR, right? And someone said in chat, it doesn't matter how old somebody is. It doesn't matter if somebody's male or female. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. Jack me off. It doesn't matter what the identity of the person you are doxing is. You should not dox. Now, that being said, hold on, my throat, guys. Hi, Julian. I'm not sure, like, I lost my train of thought. Right. It's funny, I wrote this great article that a publication bought and never ran, so I can't release it because they own it. But, well, that's a rumor, Tetsuo. We don't know about, and this is why I put the thing up, because when I stop, The Time Warner merger blockage is reported, not confirmed at this point, and I am kind of hesitant to jump on believing the stuff, because a previous story reported by Vice about Trump fighting with Disney World turned out to be a false story. So I am a little skeptical about and as someone said in the chat, Alex says, you can see it right there, it shouldn't have anything to do with the guy who posted the original meme to begin with, and he's absolutely right. That was the element I hadn't said yet, but I thought it. Okay. We're gonna, please don't post that, Holly. This, like, don't post this, please. You're probably joking, but I want to warn people before they kick them, but please don't do that. Thank you. Thank you, James. But yeah, the identity of the person who, all right, this person's gone. We don't do pedophilia in any way here. Not cool. But yeah, whoever made the meme to begin with, their identity doesn't matter. Okay? Their intent was never to do anything other than shitpost. And some people like shitposting, some people don't like shitposting. I don't mind a mild shitpost. I think some of the stuff that this, Hanasso Solo guy engaged in is over the line. But not the CNN thing. I actually thought, if I just saw the meme, I would have thought it was pretty funny. Being tweeted by the president's account that the White House press office has said is official statements. Like, oh God, dank memes are now official White House statements. We have hit that point. It's 2017, right? Yeah, as Alex said, the only reason it was brought to attention was because of the president's tweet. And so let's keep it in bounds. It doesn't matter what garbage somebody posted on a garbage subreddit that is garbage and garbage. Not garbage human, just garbage. But no, he didn't tweet it with the POTUS account, Damiana. He tweeted it with his personal account. But it's a distinction without a difference anymore. They have said that his tweet is official stuff. So what happened was CNN released this horribly worded article, and if you don't understand the context of the K file, which is, it used to be an independent thing that CNN then bought. He did retweet it on the POTUS account. Oh, great. Wow. Yes, I am talking about the Hanasso Solo situation. The whole thing is just a garbage fire. Not a garbage human fire, just a garbage fire. It was Andrew Kaczynski, I think is his last name. He's the guy who runs the K-File. And CNN bought the K-File to get access to things like the Howard Stern Trump interviewers. And the thing about Reddit is it is home to some pretty horrible opinions. And what I found interesting is the shitposter said that this is not what he believes in real life. He'd never say that as a person. It's a total different thing. And I still don't quite understand why someone goes on the internet and says things they don't believe. Even, okay, I get that it's shit posting, but why would you say these things if you don't believe them? Like, why do you think it's funny if you know it's bad? Now, maybe somebody can explain this to me. I don't get it. Okay, that context would make sense. Guys, that Tomas and William said that it's a board where it was intended to say things that were offensive as possible, like Cards Against Humanity. Okay, and Oron says it's an outlet for thoughts you know are wrong but can't help it, they sometimes occur to you. That doesn't mean you don't think and feel them in your real life, though. That means you do. And it means, like, come on, camera, focus. Why won't you focus? There we go. It's that doesn't mean you don't believe them in your day-to-day life. You think them, you can't help it. And it's unfortunate because it's almost like the purpose of the dark web or the deep web doesn't exist anymore, because people go into the deep web and break containment on it. And I mean, yes, you need the police and the FBI going in there to stop bad stuff like human trafficking and kiddie porn and all that stuff. But shitposting is shitposting and should stay in the shitpost toilet, right? Like, I get that it exists. I choose not to access it, and maybe that's it. Or I can't connect to it because I just don't have those particular bigotries. The one I have to watch is knee-jerk reactions to, you know, when someone says they're an MRA, I have a temporary feeling that I have to so that, I mean, that's mine. That's the one I have to watch. Part of the reason I started cosplaying the character Poison Ivy is, and I can relate to it in this way, I guess, is it was my way of, because I had just come out of my experiences at York University and York University's gender studies program. And there was a definite I hate men streak that I had to deal with. And so Poison Ivy was a really good way of working through that and getting past it, because I recognized that it was something that had been artificially programmed into me that I didn't want to feel. So I guess I have a different perspective that, yeah, MRA does give me a sort of instant fear response, because one of my, yes, Anita was an alumnus of the exact program I went to at York too. I have issues with, yeah, I get it, Barbara Gordon. Well done. My first experiences with MRAs were horrible, and I can't get into details with it because that exact same group comes up and bombards me again when I talk about what happens, claiming I'm lying about what happened. But now I recognize now that these, you know, I don't believe that the people I initially had a bad experience with are true men's rights activists. I believe they were actually feminists using the anti-feminists using the MRA designation because it doesn't have the word anti in it. And I think there's a big difference between someone who says, hey, there are issues here. You know, mental health is a right, and because of the way the mental health system is structured and tiered and based on identity politics, men don't have equal rights to mental health access as everybody else. That's a valid rights-based point that, yes. Now, that is not the original experience I had. I had a somebody went after, forget it. I don't even remember what the comment initially was. It was so benign. And unfortunately, I tried to be friends with someone, well, online friends, which we all know is not the same as real friendship. But I tried to be friends with someone despite them identifying as an MRA. And I, listened to what the guy had to say. And obviously, he had very personal reasons for having issues with certain things. He had bad experiences in the past. And I could relate to the guy on a human level. I was understanding where he was coming from, even though I found some of his views very emotionally driven. I don't know what cafe is. You'll have to enlighten me. And so I actually ended up meeting the guy in person through a convention. And after that, things changed. They got funny. I don't know if I couldn't be as attentive and chummy with him as it seemed like he was going for. And that included going back to his house to meet his cat. Yeah, I'm going to go back to the house of a guy I barely know alone when I'm supposed to be at a convention. That was not going to happen. But after that, things got weird. And something very happened with, I don't even remember what it was, like I said. And all of a sudden, these MRAs were saying these horrible things. And they were from a particular, they were identifying as from a particular group that I will not name, because the particular group then accuses me of lying about them, even though these people said they were from that group. This guy that drove me into the orbit of these people said over and over and over again he was from this group. But if I say that and I say the name, hey Rich, how's your basement? That sounds weird. But if I say that, then they accuse me of lying about them. And this is one of these things. This is part of the bad experience, okay? So Rich, anybody references cabbages here? It's like cucumbers on your stream. Oh, that sucks. Can we tell them what happened, Rich? But anyway, bad experience, got bombarded, and then this guy, well, that's good that it's dry. But then this guy basically, they started making all these assumptions, feminist, and started saying, like, horrible bombarding brigade sort of thing. I'll tell the Rich story after I tell this story. And I said to this guy who, no sound? There's sound. I'm getting deflection here. Hi, Sean. I said to this guy, tell them that these things they're assuming about me because I'm a feminist are not so. You know me. You know I don't ascribe to these views. And the guy said, basically, sometimes you have to go through this for your own good. So he wouldn't vouch for me as a person because of his ideology. And I was just like, that's it. That was my first sort of more than passing experience with the men's rights movement. And it was terrible, right? It was totally dehumanizing. It was dishonest. It was not treating me as an individual. And yeah, as Oron said, I have a knee-jerk reaction to MRAs the same way other people have knee-jerk reactions to feminists. And this is why I recognize that I have to stop that, okay? I have to stop, I have to get through that. I have to go, okay, I've had that feeling. I know why that feeling is there. That feeling is there for a reason. I'm going to move past that anyway. I'm going to give this person a chance as an individual. Identity is significant, but not the primary important thing. And that's kind of my bias. I know that. Everybody has something. We're kind of talking, everyone's a little bit racist. So, yeah, and as Frederic said, there's good people and bad people in both camps. and that's true, and you have to judge people as individuals, and you have to and yeah, this is where I diverge. Well, I diverge in a lot of ways from certain other feminists, because I don't believe that identity is the primary important thing when you're talking to another person, right? Like, I don't believe in shutting someone down because they're talking about women's issues and they're a man. I will come at it of, okay, if the other person can acknowledge that they don't know what it's like to, I don't know what's going on with my camera today. There must be, I'll try to figure out what it's actually focusing on. But both sides do it. The Rich story is that Rich's basement flooded this week. Yeah, what the hell is going on with my camera? Rich's basement flooded this week, and he so the podcast is delayed this week, and when he first said it, Rich is such a hard worker, and he tried so hard to like be on it anyway, be Mr. Professional, and the minute he said his basement was flooded, it's like, this is gonna be a days long thing. As somebody who's had back at my old place, the townhouse we used to, hide my hands, the townhouse we lived at, there was a leak in the upstairs bathroom that made the ceiling collapse onto the den floor below it, and it was blah. And yeah, thanks, Yosef, for catching that one. Here's the reason why I haven't watched the Red Pill movie yet. I made the mistake of reading a lot of press with that documentary. I was interested in it, but I polluted my brain with too much advanced press. So I don't feel like I can watch it with an open mind anymore. I think Kathy and I usually are pretty close in opinions, sometimes with some divergent perspectives, but we tend to come at things in the same way. And so I suspect I will have a similar feeling about it that she did, but I don't trust myself yet to watch it without having a not objective perspective. And if I watch it and I'm not objective, then there's no point in me watching it to tell you guys what I think, because it's not useful. And the other thing I'm trying to do is be very, very careful to avoid a lot of opinion in that regard while I'm working on Lady Bits, because I don't want anything to accidentally bleed into Lady Bits. I don't want to accidentally plagiarize. And that's interesting, Oron, that you said it's a hard movie to watch. I mean, for me, I would have a really hard time watching any documentary that didn't deal with the, really bad stuff that I know happens because it's happened to me. Yes, Kane JW, I realize that was an unfortunate turn of phrase. Okay. I watched Cassie J's interview on the Rubin Report. I did know that. I just don't think that my opinion on a documentary on something that charged is useful. It would have to be an objective analysis. Just adding my worthless opinion to a pile of worthless opinions is not a good use of anyone's time. I don't think so. And also, I'm playing, right now I'm going through all the Tomb Raider games. I don't know that I'm going to have time to finish all of them, which kind of sucks. And I'm glad I went back and replayed it, because I'm catching little side-by-side things. The side-by-side comparison of Lara Croft dressed inappropriately for the cold is going to be quite interesting. But I mean, I think that no matter what, I end up thinking about the red pill. Is it on Netflix, by the way? How do you watch this thing? So, uh, I think that with Cassie J and Laci Green and all this stuff, I think that the reaction to it has been completely inappropriate. The Google Store, okay. Google Play Store. I have a Google TV. I can do that. Yay, smart TVs. Okay, somebody has an opinion that's different from yours. Okay, you think they're dead wrong. Okay, you think the idea, and you guys know this, I have a very high bar for the idea of a harmful idea. There are ways of approaching disagreement. And guys, please don't start fighting about generalized statements that assume not all in this chat, please. Okay, thanks. No matter how triggering something is, you should not try to demolish someone personally. You should not try to take away their livelihood. You should not try to wipe them off the earth. Because everybody has to earn a living, we don't want a welfare state. If there is something someone is doing that is of interest, that's fair. That's valid. Yeah, something weird happened with the chat last... Oh, you mean you guys were still chatting? Well, that's good. I don't mind that. That's great. You guys behave, so that's good. James just asked me, is peace worth humanity? There it is. It just popped up. I think that if you use humanity-destroying tactics, it's not peace, right? Like, there are ways to disagree. I disagree with the way I disagree with people's views, but I'm very aware that I don't know them as people, and a lot of people have very different personas on the internet or in media than they do in real life. I know I am one of them. I am very introverted, and when I'm off the clock, I like to be alone. I don't say very much. And it's not that I'm a completely different person. It's just I'm very shy and I'm very introverted and I need a lot of alone time. And so I can only spend so much time spending a lot of time. And there's absolutely no way. And I was about to say something that was going to be really bad, easily misconstrued. I don't have a problem with people with differing views than me. I have learned a lot from people with different views from me. And it doesn't mean I completely change my view, but I do amend. When I came out of school, I have... just ask your question, Mario. What's Live Emmy? Sorry, that was the question. I have no idea what that is. Yeah, available for free on Amazon Prime means you have to pay for Amazon Prime. I've actually been thinking about getting Amazon Prime because I'm ordering more things on Amazon. So, possibly. But, the only way you learn is by exposing yourself to new ideas. And when I came out of school, I had all the textbook stuff, right? The problem is that a small portion of feminist thought actually gets into academia. And I've been cited in a few papers now, which is kind of weird. But the stuff you're allowed to use and the stuff you're accessed in academia is completely separated from the way the rest of the world talks. Gloria Steinem herself complained about the fact that academia requires academics to use words that 90% of the population doesn't understand. And as somebody pointed out, a lot of the stuff you see in academia tends to be quite sex negative feminism. That's because academia, by its very nature, many people are, and Simone de Beauvoir wrote about this. It's some of the most personal stuff she wrote about how she felt she had to detach from her body to become an intellectual. And so intellectuals spend a lot of time in their own heads. Intellectuals have a lot of issues with the body and what it means and how it defines them. And so there is that bias that I don't subscribe to. It's funny that this week a lot of people talked about masculine and feminine communication styles, and I have a feminine communication style, and that was so funny because that's something I've deliberately cultivated. Because I think the problem is that women tend to masculinize our speech patterns to be accepted as intellectuals. And all that does is encourage, misogyny and dialectic that, and I know that's a Shmulith Firestone reference, that intellectualism is male, touchy-feelies are female, touchy-feelies less than intellectualism, therefore touchy-feely feminine, less than male intellectualism. And I don't believe you can put a gender on intellectualism. So I don't want to be a part of that. And so I've deliberately found a different manner of speech. And yeah, Krogan Chart points out, you can give people feminist ideas, and if you don't call it feminism, people are much more receptive. That was actually what an ad person said with Lady Bits. Lady Bits' working title was a feminist guide to gaming. The feedback came back, people are going to be a lot more receptive if you don't use the word feminist. And I'm like, because get it, Gamer's Guide to Feminism, the follow-up is Feminist Guide to Gaming. I don't care what word I use. It's a good point. Would I say I kind of just naturally avoid what I perceive to be the norm? Avoid? No. Because if you're always avoiding what's normal, then you are being controlled by norms as much as if you reject them. I don't take sort of as a de facto thing that normal is actually healthy or natural. Norm just means that, norm, common, right? I don't subscribe to that making it right. And yeah, Lady Bits is going to be quite a bit lighter, and I'm moving more towards making it, just trying to get as diverse a selection of opinions that gamers have given me in a program as I possibly can. Because I was saying in the feedback session on Wednesday, other shows can interview experts and do the facts and studies and all that stuff, but what has really been missing is an accurate cross-section of what gamers actually think on these topics. And so that is something I think I'm uniquely positioned to do. And yeah, time to Japan. I see comments like that. I'm like, I can't disagree with that. Yes, there will be costumes in Lady Bits. Not as much as I initially hoped I could do because of costs. But there will be some. Because there's gotta be a way to distinguish, like, I'm gonna use it to distinguish, like, this is one type of opinion, this is another type of opinion, this is another type of opinion. This is not me being contradictory or fence-sitting. This is me presenting the opinions that have been expressed to me. And it... Brody, was that directed at me? But I also think that there's something to be said for if I'm gonna, you know, criticize. One of the things I want to do, I'm working on it. It's an interesting thing. I want to try to actually make, 101, is that the online only Star Trek show? But I'm actually trying to use like corsets and pointy bras and things like that to kind of shape my body into what the original Lara Croft looked like, to kind of show, why are we freaking out about this? It's so uncanny valley. It doesn't really look remotely like a real person. It's closely doable. Male and female speaking styles. Wow, I don't have the data at my fingertips, but apparently, and I'm gonna get this wrong, there are differences to how often, and I believe women use I words, I phrases more frequently than men do. There are just different little things. I can look this stuff up, but I'm blanking on it right now. I've been having a week of this. The feedback session was a hot mess in terms of me not being able to recall names and stuff like that. But the I do the costumes myself. Yeah. And I'm having a bit of trouble with that now because of my hands. I've tried to do some hand sewing and the heel of my hands cramp up pretty badly. Men are declarative. Yes, Cheshire, that's right. Yes. There's, but yeah, I will look that up, and I want to speak accurately on this, and I really can't recall with precision. Yeah, that photo was interesting. And one of the things that my complaint sort of is about media, William is talking about the photo with the size 2 model with no clothes and a size 12 model with real clothes. One of my big things that I recognize, because I waffle between a size 6 and a 12, depending on the line. And yes, thank you, Kane. And I actually speak directly declaratively and I interrupt a lot. But yeah. What was I talking about? I'm all over the place today. Completely lost my train of thought there. But yes, women tend to use a lot more filler, if I'm correct. Kane, correct me if I'm wrong. Women use more filler in a conversation to get conversation going, whereas men are like, this is the thing. There are actually old-fashioned... People are fascinated by this Lara Croft experiment. There are actually old-fashioned bras from the 1950s that are quite pointy. They actually go into a point. So they're out there. I think Healthy Bra is one brand that has it. But yeah, they make you look like the original Lara Croft. If I have to, I'll just false shape it. I'll actually make the cone. But we have to talk about, when we talk about speaking style, these are typical things. There's a real issue with people who don't speak typically for their gender. They take a lot of shit. Hi, Night Owl. I take a lot of shit for not speaking femininely enough. By internet standards, I speak very femininely, and by gamer standards, I do. Yeah, Lee interruption. When I interrupt myself. But, there are a lot of guys I notice as well online. This is why I don't assume gender on the internet anymore, because I've spoken to a lot of guys who I thought were female based on the way they kind of typed, and I got it wrong, and it's like, oh damn. So there are different speaking styles, and some. It's funny because I noticed there are times that even Donald Trump speaks with sort of feminine signifiers, and I wonder, like, man, he sounds like an old Scottish lady, like he sounds like my aunts sometimes, and it's like, and old Jewish ladies when it does terrible. The only other time I've heard people talk that way is the old Jewish ladies that hit me with shopping carts. Okay, so it's terrible, disgusting, that's terrible. And it's almost like he pushes up the masculine identifiers that bluster to try to hide the fact that he has something of a feminine speaking style. But I don't care, Sean. Some people call me Liana. Some people call me Leanna. I was a baby in Tennessee, so it's Leanna. But a lot of Americans say Liana. Yeah, I did Time to Japan, see that she got block botted. Welcome to the club, Laci. That kind of sucks. I am really bothered by the way Laci Green's being treated. Yes, my gender signifier is awesome. My gender identity is awesome, Dragon Water. That's pretty much where I'm at. The next podcast will come up, Die Dragon Night, when Rich recovers from his basement being flooded. Yes, Rob, that's kind of the point, is I want to show on a real person's body what it actually looks like, so we can kind of put that to bed. But somebody said what happened to Laci Green. Laci started hanging with some anti-social justice warriors, and yeah, I find the all of a sudden Gamergate or now Laci Green, one of us kind of thing. And it's funny, I do find that certain message boards, and we shouldn't say Gamergate, we should say particular message boards, because not all Gamergate. But I think it's funny that certain boards treat somebody who is like an enemy to the other side, like a defector. You get kind of more cred if you say like flaming asshole things and then recant them, than if you're relatively consistent all along. And that I kind of take issue with, that it is more about putting points on the board and sending the side that, haha, you're wrong, than actually, so we can't say all. I really think Laci's being very badly bullied, and I'm sure she has a support system. I'm sure there's a lot of people around her encouraging not to give a fuck. Loto or absolutely nothing. I know nothing about that one. But I think that in general, people start off more radical and then moderate as they get older. And so, yeah, as you mature, unless you're Andrea Dworkin, you get less, I know what I'm right, rah, 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 because life, there goes my camera again, jazz hands are messing up my camera. Life kicks you in the ass and makes you realize you don't know nearly as much as you think. And so people tend to moderate as they get older. And I think that's just kind of what's happening to Laci right now. I always thought Laci was very smart. Now, smart does not make you wise, and she's very young. I mean, you gotta remember how young a lot of these women stepping up and talking about this stuff are. I mean, Lauren Southern's really young. Laci Green's really young. And for me, really young is anyone under 30. From experience, you're a puppy, you know? And I think they have the right to their opinions. Yeah, Kane, you're right. It's more about experience than age. And people have the right to their opinions. Young people have the right to speak. But your opinion does change as you... Yeah, Lauren's in her, like, mid-20s, maybe. And Lauren's very smart. I had dinner with Lauren after I did her show. She's very smart. And she's got some lived experience thing that really, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Thanks, Panda Fart. I love the screen name. Lauren had sort of some lived experience things that are up to her to tell that really make me understand her point of view. And she's doing her thing. And I don't have to agree with how she does her thing. I don't have to approve of how she does her thing. I don't have to disapprove, and I don't have to disagree. She's doing her thing. And really, that's the most important thing. And that's why I would like to see more respect between the, the various people of various points of view. Because everybody knows how hard it is to be out here having an opinion, especially if, you're in your early to mid 20s, you're in school, you're delaying school to do this media thing. It takes a lot of bravery. And I don't care who you are. It takes guts to put your, to put yourself out there, and unless you're a sociopath or like a raging narcissist, but most people aren't, right? And designer Dave, that's I think something that Laci has said herself about. It's funny because one of my papers was Mormonism in the Twilight Saga, so I actually had to study Mormonism. Thanks, my friend Stuart out in BC for I met my friend Stuart at a Battlestar Galactica fan forum. And he is an expert, believe it or not, on, among other things, he's an academic, and he's an expert on Mormon cosmology and popular culture. And he needed a third person to do this. I really need to put it up. Alex, I don't release it because it's very much an academies, and that stuff gets misconstrued. If I talked to myself 15 years ago, would I agree with my 15 years younger self about everything? Rati, I think that's your question. Absolutely not. My God. No. I think back about that, and it's like, okay, the way the Mormon underwear has been explained to me, and I am not a Mormon, but it's, yeah, I could share it on Patreon, I guess, Yose. I'll think about that. I'll have to find it. Don't forget my computer died. I may not have it anymore. That would suck. But the magic underwear, the traditional garments that you get when you come of age in Mormonism, my understanding is basically the same thing as, you know, when you're in Catholic school. I was never in Catholic school. Why am I talking about like I was? But which one, Meredith? In Utah or in Kansas City? In like Independence, Missouri. Sorry, don't mean to self-dox, but the Mormon underwear is basically the same thing as the nun in Catholic school going up, and it has to be, oh, in DC. Oh, okay. You have to put 2 fingers above the knee. It's the same thing. If your underpants are showing, your clothing is not modest enough. So that's my understanding of what those garments actually do. So it's making sure, if it's showing here, then your neckline's too low. I could never be a Mormon. This outfit would totally fail the Mormon underpants test because it kind of goes up to here and then it goes to here. It's similar to Orthodox Jewish, or in some ways, forgetting the Muslim term for modest dress. But that's what I understand the underwear does. And somebody asked why I don't drop the feminist title. I don't drop the feminist title because I think the whole thing is called hijab, right? It is. Dressing hijab means dressing modestly. It refers to the garment as well. But yes, yeah, it's the same thing. I am not a fan of modest dress for various reasons. But James pretty much summarized what I said. There's nothing, what I believe, not what I said. There's nothing wrong with modesty. It's a good character trait. Forced modesty is what gets me. Religious desire for theocracy and exemption always enrages me. I feel the same way. If you don't wear any underwear, you're safe. I do that frequently. It is also quite breezy and comfortable. I was saying my reasons that I don't drop the tag. Because why should anybody force me to drop a tag? If I am changing the way I refer to myself because people want me to, not because I feel it's sincere, I am a hypocrite because I tell other people not to do that. And when people start going, drop the tag, drop the tag, drop the tag, that is other people trying to get me or anyone else to speak in the way they want others to speak, not the way that feels natural to them. And my background is with certain groups that have their manner of speech, their traditional patois, or the way they express themselves belittled because it doesn't sound white. And I have an issue with that because a true intellectual should be able to listen to someone and listen to understand and listen on their terms. And you should be able to get the meaning from what they say. They should not have to conform to the way you speak to be heard. That's lazy and that's authoritarian. And so, yeah, it's harder than dropping the tag. But what would you call it? I mean, the problem is if I drop the tag and I say I'm egalitarian, then people are going to, she's not egalitarian. She talks about women. She's a feminist. It starts becoming a weapon people can use against me, right? Whereas, people say you should be a women's advocate. I'm really not. I'm here to inform, not to advocate. So that's not accurate, right? So feminist is accurate. Now, what I have done is defined it for myself. I do not consider myself an intersectional feminist. I used to, because I didn't have a word. But as I have developed my own theories, I have a brand of feminism I call Mosaic feminism, which is almost the precise opposite of intersectional feminism. And I realized that intersectional feminism is like this cross section, so you're seeing the world through a pinhole, and that's part of the problem. Like, all you're seeing is that little narrow thing that the intersection point of your experiences allows. My concept is Mosaic feminism, which means, if you know what a mosaic is, a form of art made up of little tiny tiles. And so every person's experience is a tile as part of the artwork. And none are more or less valid. There is no right answer. We have to view the whole thing, step back and see the whole artwork. Because if you just look at the one tile, you'll think the whole thing is blue, or you'll think the whole thing is white, or you think the whole thing is red. If you step back, you see those red, white, and blue tiles make a picture with black ones and yellow ones and green ones and brown ones and all that stuff. And so I realized how I came up with the term Mosaic feminism. Yes, Sabatman. Because intersectionalism, I remember I was at a colloquium lecturing on video games when everybody else was doing literature. I consider video games interactive literature, but, well, some games anyway. And this one person was doing a queer reading of something else, and they were an intersectionalist, and yes, I said they. That's how they identify. But I asked them, how do you separate your intellectual opinion from your personal opinion? And she threw an intersectionalist framework, and they said, I don't. And I found that very interesting. I categorically disagree. Based on what I've said earlier in this stream, I categorically disagree that that's the way to go. I am not so arrogant to believe that my opinion has inherent worth to other people. My opinion matters to me. But I am so over needing to be heard, and I know that's a privileged position, because I am heard. You know, I've done enough in the media now that I am considered a relevant person by both Wikipedia and Twitter. That I am so over needing to speak just so my opinion can be validated. That's not me. If I don't have an opinion that I am detached enough from to speak about it and not get hurt or offended if somebody disagrees, I try to avoid talking about it. It's difficult in these scenarios where you guys are asking me questions. But I just don't, and I back away really quickly from people who seem to be emotionally driven. You can't have a respectful disagreement with somebody who is really emotionally invested in something. And a lot of people are very emotionally invested in something. That was what I kind of got with that whole Anita Sarkeesian blow-up thing. That's a stupid question. That's an emotional investment. Okay? The name calling, when people start name calling, they are emotionally invested. And yeah, Kane JW, I agree. It wasn't meant to be grounds for censure or censorship, but it has become that way. And I think that, and I agree with you. Rati said, I believe the emotional investment comes from fear. If you're taught that you live in a rape culture where people will celebrate your violation, I don't blame you for androphobia. Spot on. I agree. One of the things that I really struggle with myself is that trained fear that people will look at the same street at night and have a very different opinion of that street. You know, a lot of guys will look at that and go, what? Nobody's there. It's fine. We'll just walk to the car. Whereas a lot of women will go, that's not safe. I'm not going to go down there. I'm going to find somebody to walk me to my car. No guy would feel it's completely socially acceptable to ask someone to walk them to their car. You know, I know guys, thanks, Sean. No guy is, I've seen a lot of guys get into trouble because, they won't be smart about certain things. I knew a guy we called the voice of reason for a while because another guy was having a really hard time of being falsely accused by things. And he said, don't go anywhere alone. Have a witness whenever you are here so somebody can vouch for your point of view. The guy wouldn't do it. He felt emasculated. And Time to Japan agreed. Guys have fears, but what is socially acceptable to do about that fear is fundamentally different. I wish more guys could admit to that fear. So, yeah, I don't know that, Damiana. Like, parts of your sentences? I don't know why the chat's eating parts of your sentences. But, you know, I constantly have this dialogue with myself about whether or not something actually is scary, or I've just been trained it's scary. Something is unsafe, I should say. Thank you, Rati. I have to constantly question, is this actually unsafe? Or have I been trained for this to be unsafe because of the tradition of women not being in public spaces? And I think that makes me exceptionally different than the feminist frequency types who give into that fear. You know, on the one hand, the damsel in distress is a trope against women. But then everything is, it's okay for me to do this because I am inherently threatened. And I believe they believe that. Like, they go way too far off the deep end in that regard for me to believe it's cynical. But I think a fundamental thing holding women back from CEO positions, from leadership positions, from politics, from this is fear. They've actually, so you have to ask a woman over and over and over again because, you know, men, and they've done studies, this is not me generalizing, this is the studies. Men are more likely to go, I'm kind of qualified, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Whereas women go, if I don't check every box on this job application form, I'm not even going to apply. Because, see, Arc Dogma, I don't think as a woman is what I would say in this thing. Because I have had arguments with my husband about dangerous situations where it's like, it's too dangerous, you shouldn't go. My husband is 5'2" and like maybe 125 pounds. If it's dangerous for me to go there, why isn't it dangerous for you to go there? If we're talking about physical size and strength and reach and all this stuff, we should be talking about physical size and strength and reach. We should not be talking about men versus women. Because I'm sorry, Ronda Rousey will kick someone's ass. You know, the women MMA fighters, martial artists, you know, they're going to kick some ass. Gina Carano is going to kick some ass. I am not Gina Carano. I would not put myself in situations where I need to kick some ass. Okay? But no, Arc Dogma, I'm not coming down on you. I'm making a point. Like, you know, I like my hobbits. I come by that. Honestly, I don't need that tall, broad-shouldered dude as kind of a protection thing. You know, I don't need that. That is not a thing that is, oh, this is a preference of mine. I don't need that because, let's face it, technology has gotten to the point where more at risk from things that nobody can outmuscle. You can't outmuscle an AR-15, okay? You can't punch an AR-15 and make it not shoot you. You know, like, it just, thanks, Power Piglet. Thanks, guys. It's just, we go into these assumptions. We go into these assumptive crouches, right? That, oh, we should defend women. And I'm looking at this going, like, and it's adorable in these situations where, you know, it's at a gaming event and a guy offers to sort of walk me to the subway or walk me to the car or whatever like that. And I'll kind of be, we'll walk each other. Because I appreciate that this noodly armed geeky guy is trying to be chivalrous. You know I don't put shoes on head. Type to Japan. I'll put a mushroom on my head. Here you go. Dun 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 dun. Mushroom. But you've been in a bear attack, Lotador? A bear attack? Yeah, I need to get a cabbage. I want to make like a little cabbage head. Yeah. Dave Rubin put a shoe on his head. See, here's my story with a shoe on head. I was joking around one night, and I had just watched that episode of Elementary where Sherlock put a shoe on his head because the 4chan type group, everyone told him to put a shoe on his head for something. So I did a thing where I put a shoe on my head, but to be funny, I covered up my face with my shoe because then it can't prove my identity, right? Through some weird twist of absolute chance, someone was on 4chan causing trouble with a Gamergate thing. And you could tell how long this ago because, sorry, was it 4chan or 8chan? It was 8chan at that point, right? And so someone was doing something or claiming to be something, and they asked them to put a shoe on head, and they saw the photo I put up, and so people thought it was me. So I don't ever put a shoe on my head ever, because somewhere, something just happened outside. What did you do, Scout? Something fell. Oh, a squirrel tried to jump and missed. Wow, that was loud. I don't know if you guys heard that thud. A squirrel just tried to jump at one of my cats through the window and hit the glass. A squirrel just did a hawk thing, like, on my glass. Yeah, this is why I do not put a, Scout's totally freaked out, poor guy. I do not put shoes on my head ever because of that. So, yeah. The squirrels in my neighborhood are fucking assholes, man. Squirrel failed parkour skill check. It's true. Like, wow. But yes, the squirrels in my neighborhood are huge. The squirrels are bigger than Midna. The question, okay, back to questions. The question is how tough someone has to be is the acceptable measure, and the measure should be equal for both sexes. I completely agree, Faberloop. I think that there needs to be basic standards. Now, this is a tricky thing because I know that certain things like police departments and the military and things like that have lowered standards for women to be admitted. Now, that has also been because the jobs have changed and the requirements are not the same as they were. But the other than, you know, it should be based on height, I think, more than anything. But you have to do the job. You have to do the job. I mean, firefighters should have to do the same tests and everything like that. And this is an individual thing. I mean, men used to be, you know, an average height of 5'6", and they did those jobs. So a 5'6" woman, you know, should be able to pass the same standards. I have no problem with that. I mean, Gal Gadot is this tiny little waif of a woman, but she managed the, you know, the Israeli military. Don't judge how people look. She is tough. But yeah, I did hear about the Australian initiative about they've tried removing gender from application forms here, and they didn't actually find it increased hires. Yeah, Yosei. Vieticus, I see what you did there. I did, I have that's gonna be part of Lady Bits. Definitely part of Lady Bits. Yeah, Gal Gadot's quite tall, but she's skinny. She just can't put on muscle. She's like that. I know people like that. And yeah, it is technique as much as anything. You know, if you can carry that rifle, you can carry that rifle. Good for you. I can't. Yeah, it's been promoted, Yosei. I realize there's parts that it'll go in the female playable character stuff. I see James is bringing up that whole men can't be raped thing. I have a real problem with that. I can't believe that still exists. I can't believe that myth still exists. It's awful. Gender on the health card thing. Yeah, for people who don't know, this is a story. The British Columbia government has issued the first birth certificate without a gender because a non-gender identifying individual had a kid outside the system. And there was no genital inspection done after the birth, and the parent refused to submit a gender, and so the British Columbian government finally went, we're going to, yeah, the field says sex. Yeah. But they don't know the sex of this kid, Power Piglet, because nothing has been checked. There's been no disclosure. There's been no indication one way or the other. You cannot access healthcare services in Canada. So this kid has ostensibly had no healthcare in its young life. Because how did they do it without something? And so I give the government credit for not punishing the kid for their parents' politics by issuing a card that says you, and they be unknown or undetermined. I don't know how they managed to do this, Ari, but you cannot access healthcare without a health card. So the assumption is that this kid has not received vaccinations, has not had anything, has not been checked for syphilis, nothing. Because how do you do that without a health card? And no, the doctor or nurse can't make an educated guess in this case because a doctor or nurse has not seen this child in a hospital. I'm assuming the kid was born with a midwife or a doula. And so there has been no medical check of the genitals to assign sex. And I kind of feel like this is just my opinion, okay? No legislation will be drafted, all this stuff. I don't understand why it's such a big deal. I identify as female out of convenience mostly. Yeah, that kind of lines up. I feel the same way I do about being female as I do about feminist. It's the most accurate term that describes me. It does not define me. Descriptions do not define, right? Words like this describe, they do not define. And I don't understand why we're spending all this time saying that, you know, genitals are not destiny, that men can behave in atypical ways and women can behave in atypical ways, if we're going to push and just say, well, you know, men are supposed to be one thing and women are supposed to be another thing. And if you don't conform to that, you're a different gender, right? Like, that's not what it was supposed to be. The whole trans advocacy is supposed to be for people who, like, if you see the parent of this kid, they gave birth, but they have facial hair. So clearly there's some intersex stuff going on there. And I think intersex individuals should be able to own their identity, because they aren't something like that. You can legitimately say, not someone like that. Someone like that you can legitimately say doesn't really fit into male or female. The vast majority of people do. And I get what they're trying to do. And parents' rights matter. We have to be very, very careful that the state does not start coming in and overriding parental, the ability for parents to make choices for their child. And parents can deny their kids vaccinations. So parents can deny gender inspections for their kids as well. Parents can do anything they want with their kids to a certain age, other than like what has been identified as abuse. And I would prefer to work towards, as Mario said, making less trouble for people who don't feel like the gender they assigned at birth is working for them. Just make it easier to change that. And then we don't have to have these worries. Then people can just go, well, this is what the kid is for now. You know? It's funny because we're in this whole like transracial debate right now, right? I mean, racial dozali aside, you get these commercials, right? Where someone said, I always thought I was German. It turns out I'm Italian, or something like that. And it's like their entire sense of self changes. Like all of a sudden they stopped doing things they thought they liked and started doing other things because a DNA test told them to. And I'm like, what? Why are you being defined by a piece of paper that says your DNA says you should be this? Fuck off with that. You know? I'm not gonna have to take a DNA test to say I can listen to dance hall reggae. It's music. It's clothes. Like, come on. But we have this. People are changing their ethnic identities based on DNA profiling. It's 2017. We thought, everybody laughed at Justin Trudeau when he said it's 2016. It's 2017 was way more whacked out than it's 2016 ever was. And yeah, Andrew, gender dysphoria is a real thing. And it should be far easier and less traumatic for people to access it. That's what I think our focus should be on. I was talking to a woman, her name's Valerie Keefe. She's a trans woman, and she speaks smart when it comes to this stuff about how much, how hard it is for people to transition, how much the state currently controls the process, and a doctor determines what someone should be able to do instead of it being an informed consent paradigm. And I know that's because doctors are afraid of getting sued, because it's not like, sorry, I'm missing some things, guys. I'm not ignoring you. Hey, Byron. Oh, God. And yes, I cut that off. I'm going to leave it there. I think you guys know how I feel about it. I'm sure I'm going to get accused of transphobia in some way because of this, because I always do. But we have to make the system work for adults making adult choices. The system should not become so politicized that people's kids become headlines. I have a huge issue with babies being this is coercive politicization of a human being, this question with this baby. And that coercively politicizing your child to not give them a gender, I think, is as bad as coercively assigning a gender that they're stuck with for life. The whole point is they shouldn't be stuck with that gender for life. And I really wonder what I would have been like had I been born 20 years later, 25 years later. Because there was a period when I was a teenager where I felt decidedly not like I was female. All my instincts were male. All my socialization was male typical. I had a lot more male friends. I didn't really have female friends successfully until well into high school. All my friends were guys. I was not comfortable on women. I didn't understand the way girls talked to each other. I didn't understand the way girls played. You know, I liked video games and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, so I played with guys. And so I was a tomboy until I was a lesbian. That's what I got labeled. I was a lesbian because I was mannish, right? I wore ties to school in high school. And I really wonder how my life would have been different had I grown up during this current paradigm. Now, what I ended up doing is going, you know what? I am not going to define what being female means to me based on norms. I am female. I am going to define for myself what being female means for me. That's where I'm at with that. And then it's the whole, if you don't like it, fuck off attitude that I'm not allowed to say, but that's what I'm thinking. Remember, thinking about things that you're thinking that you're not allowed to say? That's you're not allowed to say. My natural reaction is, you don't like it, fuck off. You can't say that. You have to listen to people, but that's my natural inclination. Piss off. Come back to me when you can have a non-emotional freak-out discussion, right? So, Time Japan, I held the chat up here because he mentioned the Duluth model and if I'm ever going to make a video about it. I do not subscribe to the Duluth model, so I have no control over whether various state and provincial governments use the Duluth model, so I don't see the benefit of weighing in other than a whole bunch of people are going to jump all over me because they read in shit to what I say. And I've got enough of that going on without doing something that I know will bring more of it. I get enough of that when I don't know it's going to cause fucking hysteria, okay? And I'm not supposed to use that word because it actually relates to, like, hysteria and hysterectomy have the same root. It's connected to uterus. Yeah, that's my thought, Time Japan. So I'm not dodging your question. Not dodging, okay? Okay, guys, let's not say things in chat like gender dysphoria is a fucking joke. Let's be cool. Like, you don't have to believe in it, that's fine, but let's not insult people. I will mess up the description of the Duluth model. Let me Google it so I don't screw this up. You may notice I'm a little jumpy about being imprecise and potentially being inaccurate this week. There are reasons for that, but that's a derivative way of saying it, but it is the politicization of investigative technique. I'm more here we go. There's okay. Got it up here. Let me see if I can switch over. There we are. This, you can look at it. Learn more. You notice it doesn't really say what it says? Here we go. Commitment to shift responsibility for victim safety of the victim to the community and state. A shared collective mission and strategy regarding intervention is based on a number of core philosophical agreements. A shared understanding of blah, 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 blah. Like, you can see it's quite vague. And this is my issue I have with it. I guess this is becoming my Duluth model video. Yeah, I have vague-ass nerve pain. You're right, Oron. The problem with the Duluth model is this is how it's presented. And it's so vague that people turn it into anything it wants. And so people make it into... oh, sorry, the link for the... I'll put it in the chat. I do this now because I'll forget if I don't. And the reason I'm using this one is people go to Wikipedia, and unfortunately Wikipedia substitutes opinion for fact a lot. But here it is here. You can read it. Somebody else mentioned the Bechdel test. Here's the thing about the Bechdel test. The Bechdel test was something created in a comic strip. Okay? So it's not a legal principle. It's not an academic principle. It is basically something somebody said that people thought was interesting. But it is not an effective bellwether of whether a work has strong female characters or whether a work is feminist. Pacific Rim fails the Bechdel test because there's not a lot of dialogue in it. But no one would claim that the movie Pacific Rim oppresses women or doesn't have strong female characters. And yes, Two Girls, One Cup, as Time to Japan said. Oh, I don't have the chat up anymore. Oh no, there we go. As Time to Japan says, Two Girls, One Cup passes the Bechdel test. It is from a comic strip. When we start using Garfield, Marmaduke, and Pearls Before Swine in academia as well, I think Pearls Before Swine could pass, quite frankly. It is cutting social satire. But the Bechdel test was a personal metric for whether a particular woman would watch a movie. Okay? My test for watching a movie is there a giant robot or a giant monkey in it, or monkeys in general? I will probably watch it unless the movie contains Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider, or is directed by Michael Bay. That is my version of the Bechdel test. It's just as scientifically valid, meaning it is not at all. I bet you could find a lot of movies with an all-male cast where they don't talk about anything other than the male character. My big issue with the Raimi Spider-Man films is everything had to be about Peter Parker. It was so freaking narcissistic, and I get it, it's a structure. But man, I want a hero where everything is not about them. I want things that they are not responsible for and therefore are out of their control. Like, brr. Oh, I know what to... Okay, story about Two Girls, One Cup. Okay? Story about Two Girls, One Cup. We actually did a reaction video of for Two Girls, One Cup on our old late night show, and two of the dancers threw up. But yeah, we did that. Um, the women in refrigerators thing again. Gail Simone popularized that one, and Gail's a friend of mine. She's super smart. Even Gail herself says that the women in refrigerators thing is overused. I include women in refrigerators in my college talk. Yeah, the go-go dancers threw up, Meredith. 2 of them. And her point was that it was overused. Not that you should never do it. It was overused. That was her point. Similar tropes in comic books that are overused are the eyeball flying punch. You know that one where somebody punches somebody in the face so hard there's one eyeball that flies? For a while there, you couldn't go a month in DC Comics without an eyeball punch. It's overused. It gets boring after a while. It lacks the punch. You know, people coming back from the dead is an overused trope in comics. It got so bad. I remember DC Comics. This is why I stopped reading mainstream comics. They killed characters and brought them back so often. When they killed Martian Manhunter, he wasn't even dead a single issue before they were talking about his resurrection. It's like, why are you bothering? Like, you're making even death meaningless, comic books. Stop it. You know? And so now, you know, the different reactions to Batman versus Superman, you know, when he died and some people thought it was so emotional, I was like, we know he's not dead. I don't care. I can't care. So this is all just Zack Snyder overusing slow motion. Overuse of slow motion, Zack Snyder trope. He way overuses slow-mo. The 300 is a 45-minute movie slowed down. Okay? But when Superman originally died and came back as Superman Red and Superman Blue, that was a big deal. You know? When Jean Grey died and came back as the Phoenix, that was a big deal. But that's because people didn't see it coming. Now it doesn't mean anything. Jason Todd didn't even stay dead. You know? Like, just Batman's parents are going to come back one of these days. And just so, you know? But, yeah. The 300 is literally a 2-hour moving storyboard. Really interesting fight choreography, but just sort of really empty at the end of the day. And yeah, deaths aren't big deals anymore. Overused. So the point, and I think it's valid whenever people, you know, say, hey guys, this is overused. Come on, cut it out. Is to make people better writers and to stop being lazy. And the problem is that there are certain ideas that certain editors really, really like. And so people pitch them knowing they will get through the editorial process, right? And so that's why you get all this replication and all this lack of originality. You know, Fable put a dog in their game and everybody liked it, so now everybody can have dogs in their game. Cats get no love, you know? I was kind of excited when they did that Assassin's Creed extended demo at E3 this year, and it ended with that big tough assassin guy with a cat rubbing up against his leg. That made me really happy. You know, at least, you know, sort of the Dragon Age franchise had the good sense to kill Duncan, and he stayed dead. People die. You know, they don't all come back. And I actually got quite bothered by the whole no one's ever dead in comics thing, because it was when, you know, every week a different service member was coming home in a body bag, and I was reading these comics, and it's like, you know what? These heroes in real life don't come back. And I really thought that comics don't have to reflect reality, but they were trying to do all that gritty shit And if you're not going to reflect reality, give me something good and stupid like Plastic Man. Don't give me this gritty Batman story that have people coming back, because that's not life. You know, I thought it was really tone deaf at the time. And oh, that's right. Do they explain that, Krogan Char? How do they work that? I mean, BioWare's given up on that whole no canon ending thing with Dragon Age. There's very much canon. But I know Plastic Man is finally back in community continuity. I'm very excited about that. But the Tick was awesome too. Reboots are way overused. Bringing in someone's parents or long lost relative, way overused. The the question, I wouldn't be surprised if they did Red Sun Superman phoneme. But you know, there are certain characters where them coming back from the dead is part of their shtick, you know, like the spirit or the specter. That's kind of an important part of their character. But can you name a comic book character who hasn't died at least once? I did read, I read some of the IDW Transformers stuff. And I liked how in the Catwoman levels in Arkham that your the points of interest save points were there were a whole bunch of cats around it. It's like, I understand this. Go towards the cats. That's my life. Darkwing, hey, we need to bring Darkwing Duck back. Phone name. I love Darkwing Duck. I have a Darkwing Duck snow globe. It's one of my prized possessions. Batman did die, though. Batman was killed in that Grant Morrison Ragnarok storyline, and then he went back through time. And it was like that Seven Horsemen storyline. He got killed. He was Baldur in DC Ragnarok. I forget what it was called, Final Crisis or some shit. But yeah, Batman got killed. They had that whole he didn't really die, Batman dies arc for a while there, but Batman's been killed. Like, it's so overused. It's ridiculous. I mean, my thing with video games right now is I really get annoyed of care about this because it's your kid or there's a kid involved. Not everybody cares if there's a kid involved. The reality is most people would like to think they'd throw themselves on a grenade for a kid, but most people freeze and don't. So it's just like, why are you artificially tugging at my feels because it's a kid? Make me care about that kid. Drove me crazy about Fallout 4. It's like, you know, my kid, okay. It makes you forget about your baby, you know? And I kind of figured out the twist in Fallout 4 anyway, because it, like, you saw it, they took the kid, you faded out again. I'm like, okay. Somebody asked me a question there, and I missed. Oh, what's my favorite comic and video game right now? I don't know what my, See, I just read this great, I beta read this great comic out right now, and it's not out. It's only half finished. But this woman sent it to me asking for my opinion, and it's a beautiful thing. It's about the impact of a a teenage tween girl dying of cancer and kind of the aftermath of it in the school, and it's so real. Like, I was like, damn, that's actually how it happens. And that's in my head right now, but it's not out, so I can't recommend it yet. Spider-Man Homecoming doesn't come up to, well, it's this weekend, right? I think I want to see that. I might see that tonight. I don't know. Looking for Group. Okay, full disclosure on Looking for Group. Lar D'Souza is a friend of mine, so I can't be objective about it. Lar is an amazing artist. Really fun. I'd like to say I'd play Splatoon 2, but I didn't play as much Splatoon 1 as I thought I would. I have not seen 13 Reasons Why yet. I used to read a lot of novels. I tend to read fantasy sci-fi just because I find other types of books just really pretentious. I read mostly nonfiction though. Like I like biographies, historical stories. I like when somebody tells a real life historical story as a narrative. That's what I tend to read. And then like metaphysics stuff. That's what I read because in terms of narratives, I play video games for my stories. And I used to read like crazy. Um Probably, Lenny. Um I I used to devour fantasy sci-fi. But now that I play a lot of video games, the stories in video games have gotten so good. I own Life is Strange. I have not played it yet, Cosmic Chris. Um Thank you, Alan. But now that I play video games, like the stories are so good in video games, sci-fi, and fantasy that I just get my stories there. So when I read, it's very different things now, and with the occasional book that is an exception to that rule. I talk about Jam Fry's stuff a lot because I think she's doing a different spin on uh the fantasy sci-fi genre. She always does something else. She's a queer writer, but it, it's always really good. It always makes me question my perspectives. You know, and then I watch shows. I watch Killjoys. I watch Dark Matter. I love The Expanse. So there's a lot of good sci-fi writing in media, you know, but you're not gonna get because the thing I get and the thing I hate about most sci-fi and fantasy is the protagonists go through those periods of being so stupid. And in like an RPG, you know, I can make my character not stupid in my mind. I can't do that. Do I play fighting games? As long as Marvel vs. Capcom Internet has more things where Internet Infinite has more sections where you actually play instead of those overdone animations where you sit there watching the screen, I will probably enjoy it. I don't play as many fighting games anymore because of the repetitive stress injuries in my hands. It's really hard for me to repetitively button press the way you have to. But I used to play Soul Calibur and Street Fighter, and I went through a Tekken period and a Dead or Alive period, and Mortal Kombat. I still play Mortal Kombat. Really like Mortal Kombat. I have been really into those builder, like those planner type games, like Prison Architect, RimWorld. I love me my RimWorld. I you know, I like those I like those games. I just like to make these big sprawling things where my own little in-jokes are in it and things like that. I really like those sorts of games, and I'm glad they're coming back. Mortal Kombat 10, I know people dogged on it because they didn't like the what am I looking for? The fatalities weren't diverse enough for them, and I see their point, but to me I care less about that than the actual match mechanics. I like going through the different fighting game characters and seeing how they feel, like the different styles, and I think that the game balance itself in MKX is quite good. I know, Tomas, that's why I found out about it as well, because of that scandal, which I'm hoping that that the last night gets the same kind of bump as RimWorld did because of the accusations of sexism. So I played the Caesar games. Do they still make those? Because plebs are needed. I used to play that all the time. My husband would hear plebs are needed so often when I was playing Caesar 3. He'd is the campaign in The Long Dark out last night? Viennicus, I was reading while I was talking. Is it out yet? Is the campaign mode out? Because I played the crap out of the sandbox. I actually backed that one on Kickstarter because it's set in Canada. And a friend of mine did some of the sound on it. Is Yosei going? Bye, Yosei. It's not out yet. No, I thought so. It's just sandbox. The sandbox itself is ridiculously fun. I got obsessed with the sandbox. So good. Like, oh, it's on GOG as well. Nice. Cool. Cool. Yeah, The Long Dark is a really good sandbox. I got obsessed with that one. Helen, I completely agree with you there. I've talked about the daughters and dream girls trope that developers really have to be careful that they're not accessing their female protagonists from a male point of view when you've got a woman running around on screen. I loved Banished. I love Banished, Lotador. I played that. That was the game I played before Prison Architects. So fun. How'd the goat like that, 101? I forgot what I was saying. Never mind. Banished hurts your anus. You're going to have to explain that one, Viennicus. Do you want my really cynical answer for how someone gets into writing for video games? Make friends who are developers and be prepared to work for free. That's how you do it. I really don't think it's about merit anymore, based on the people I know that have written for games and never should have been there. Yeah, the pathfinding on Caesar 3 was a little screwed up. I think Papers, Please is more communist than Prison Architect. I always like to make my prisoners like really super comfortable. I like to build these big luxury cells. Because I'm just like, hey, if I was in prison, I'd want like a big screen. I always put the arcade machines in their rooms because I figure some of those prisoners are gamers. And so I build arcades in my prison. It's like this whole strip I'll put like a strip of the arcade machines, and then I'll put like a few pool tables and then some couches, because that's where I used to play arcades when I was a kid, was the pool hall across the street from my school. And so I like make it in the prison because that's the way I roll, and it's fun, and I can be a good prison thing. Tomorrow's Children I only demoed, and it was an interesting idea. The world wasn't populated when I played it, so no kidding, Viennicus. Well, Crystal Dynamics is still doing Lara Croft, Gilgamesh, so which one are you talking? Pre-Square, right? Yeah, it's funny, Roddy. The other thing I do is I use the big screen TVs to make movie theaters for my prisoners. So, like, I'm a good prison person. I try to get them all out of the holding cell. I also love when I have a million weight benches in my prison, because I love the animation of these little like Fisher Price people that go up there and like with the weights. I love it. It's so cute. I'm actually thinking about getting an NES Classic, and I know I won't use it. That's the thing. I have no time. I did finish, well, as much as you can finish, Horizon Zero Dawn. That game opens up once you unlock a lot of the weapons and you learn how to use them, there is a bit of a learning curve on those weapons. If you're not feeling it, what I suggest is do the hunter trials, because that encourages you to swap out the weapons and do specific challenges. So if you're not feeling it, because to me, once I got the hang of, and yeah, the cauldrons were amazing parts of it. I like the tall necks too. But if you're not getting the hang of the weapons system, try the hunter trials, because it really gets you more used to the weapons. And once that opens up, like once you get them, you know, once you get the more advanced weapons, it's just the sandbox shooting dinosaurs in the face with fire. Yeah, the first ones are pretty easy. They get more challenging. But once you kind of get used to weapon swapping, and you can get really sort of elegant and artful with those fights, and some of the side, like the giant robot dinosaurs that you have to fight, they are pretty awesome. That one giant one that looks like, you know, one of the manticores from Archon, I forget the name. It's a giant ass thing that like guys keep trying to kill and die. That fight is so fun. And some of the ones in the mining pits, so fun. Rope casters and trip casters will not kill those fucking bird things, Steven. Oh, I hate those things. I like the idea of MMOs. I don't have any time to play them. My last prison, it was pulling at the Thunderjaw, that's right. It was pulling in 20 grand a cycle a day or whatever it was, and then I cashed out at 4.5 million. Because I like cashing out, because then you can just make an awesome prison right from the beginning. The tech, the Switch will ditch. That's a good question. Thinking. I haven't played enough of the Switch to really know it's useless. I think some of its transformer qualities, you know, oh, play it like this and play it like this. I think they will probably start making a more complete. No, they won't, because they want you to buy the accessories. That's probably that sort of conversion thing. I think it will settle down kind of more into, hey, people like to play it you know, this way, so we're going to focus on things that are this way. You know, I don't think there's any element of the Switch that's going to be quite like the Kinect, though, and I say this as somebody who likes the idea of the Kinect, but understands why it's hard to get that thing calibrated, and if you don't have the space, it's kind of useful. Thanks, Likes the Bacon. Yeah, we should wrap soon. Does anybody have any more questions before I wrap? Because this has been going on for 2 hours, and people are starting to have to go. This seems to be the best time of day to do these things. I find between like 1 and 3 o'clock, most people seem to be available. Phone name, if you miss that, do you watch the Thursday nights on Facebook? And then the reruns on YouTube? It's not on this channel. It's on the Real Ed the Sock page on Facebook. And then... see, Cosmic Chris, the cabbage thing comes from when I streamed Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Fortune. When I streamed this. My character was gifted a whole cabbage, and I ate it, and the concussive blasts during volleyball games became much funnier. I am very excited about Mario vs. Rabbids, or Mario plus Rabbids, and am going to play the shit out of that game. As you can see in the background, I'll switch off the chat for a minute. I am a Rabbids fan. You can see, blah. And I'm very excited about baby's first tactical strategy game with Rabbids and Mario. Very excited. Yeah, I produce, I do the technical production, like the switching and everything like that with the show that Ed the Sock does on Facebook Live now, and then it's uploaded after the fact for YouTube. And yeah, so let me see if I can find that Ed the Sock thing on the U of Tubes. My keyboard turned off. The sock. That's Facebook. YouTube. Huh. When you search for Ed the Sock, it says people also search for. Okay, this is Ed the Sock Central, which is the old shows, which is fun. Here we are. Wait, this is... okay, it's under FU Network. I have to remember that, right, because that's the new branding. So here's the, I have not looked up Tronbon yet. Okay, here we are. That's the YouTube. Phone name. It got pretty funny last night. We were watching the Polish First Lady snub Trump with the handshake. And there's a dog in the new studio that we shoot for. It's a place called Pigeon Row. We don't do it from the Hard Rock anymore because the Hard Rock closed. But Bo the dog showed up and unplugged the audio board. So we had no sound and we didn't know until someone on Facebook. If you want to watch it live, phone name, you have to go to the Real Ed the Sock on Facebook. That's where it comes up first. Let me try to find the Facebook link. And it will be up there, this show. Yeah, but it was like, he stuck out his hand and then she shook Melania's hand first and then shook his hand. It was pretty funny. Hey JRH. So that's the Facebook thing, and you see the one we're talking about now is there now. And it's split into two parts, so scroll down and watch the second one first, because we had some technical difficulties. Facebook Live is not good for doing long-form stuff, but more people watch live on Facebook Live because of the way it notifies, you know, your followers. Yeah. What do I think about the challenging gameplay aspects of the Dark Souls games? And what do I think about its storytelling format? Yes, lose yourself in Ribjon World, Viennicus. But Dark Souls, I love the tone of the Dark Souls games, and I think it's definitely more of a tone storytelling thing than a coherent narrative. I think they're beautiful games, and I think they're moody, and there is video I did of Bloodborne doing a sneak attack on, you know, those giant pig things, and it looks like you're just fisting that giant pig. If you do certain, you know, the strong attack, the boom, you know, it looks like you're power fisting the giant pig monster. But that's what I do for fun, apparently, when I play video games. But yeah, I tend to like doing those sorts of things in Dark Souls games. They are very challenging. And again, that fucking spider fight in Bloodborne. Oh god, I got past it, and then there was that zip fight guy on the roof, and I went, screw it, with Bloodborne, because my hands hurt so bad. But I bought Dark Souls 3 when it was on sale. I gotta play that next. So when I'm in the mood to not be frustrated, and oh, how do you like Niho? Neo, or however it's pronounced. Because that's another one on my to play list. That Nier is the next one I'm gonna tackle after I finish the Tomb Raider games. It's so weird having to play a game. Like, it's odd. Yeah, Rom the Vacuous Spider. That fucker. Hate that guy. Oh my god. Constant strafing. It's like a forever long fight because the spider is like on ice, and then he sends all these other spiders at her, and then it blasts you with ice. So you're constantly having to freaking strafe, and then come in and do a little quick, and then you strafe again. And it's like, all right, fine. My arm feels like it's going to fall off. Fuck you. You know, can you please? So you try to go the other way. You know, you strafe the other way just so you can balance out the pain. Fuck that spider. Ugh. Wolfenstein, the trailer did look interesting. I'm gonna wait to see because it's Bethesda and I don't trust them. Yeah, I agree with you, JRRH. I tried to play kind of tanky with the big axe and start it all over again and plug my points into Dex because yeah, I agree. I found it easiest. I didn't find the damage on the axe was significant enough to yeah, to make it worth anything. Why didn't you like Nier, Helen? Just curious. Nobody jump on Helen for being honest. I am asking her why she didn't like it because she is allowed to not like things. No game is for everyone. Shadow Warrior 2 is ridiculously fun. Oh my god, I love that game. I love me my Wang. What is Town of Salem? I love how these always just ascend in. What games are you playing? I should have tagged this gaming again. I didn't because I thought it was going to be more of a political thing. But we talked a lot about games. So that's fine. What is Sticker Star? I don't know these things. I live in my little hole where I talk about the game things. And I mean, Devolver sends me press releases so I find out about their games. And I got into Shadow Warriors 2 because yes, I love the Saw Cleaver. The press release was who wants some Wang, and I played Acorn Assault because it was show us your nuts, and who wants some Wang. Those will catch. The thing about Shadow Warrior 2, Lotador, is it actually does procedural generation right, and that's really awesome. Oh, okay. So you just don't do the super hard punishing lengthy fail point checkpoint game. That's totally fair. That's why I've been holding off playing it until I'm in the mood. 'Cause yeah, Bloodborne's the same way. No, I didn't hear that about Okami 2 and Beautiful Joe 3. Did somebody actually say glitches are part of the experience for Bethesda games? Are you shitting me? And yes, I am so looking forward to Horizon Zero Dawn DLC. I'm looking forward more than I expected to that Chloe Uncharted standalone, like the boxed thing. Because I like Chloe, and I thought Uncharted 4 was a beautiful game, but really didn't love the characters that they introduced. Oh, what would I say is doing procedural generation right? The fact that it is meaningful instead of just cosmetic, like things actually are in different places. Like the feeling of playing a procedurally generated game should feel like playing old school like Ravenloft. That it is a different experience every time, and that's part of the fun. It actually is different, but they've done it sort of in modules, so you don't get things that don't make sense. You get some interesting generations. Like, it's not just, oh, it went this way instead of this way, or, oh, the map is slightly different, but it's essentially the same enemies. They the algorithm creates some very interesting levels and enemy combinations, but it never breaks. So I really, and they actually put like different like pickups and environmental attacks and things like that. So it really keeps you on your toes as a procedurally generated kind of fighting game, but it's fun as well. Like the plot uh contextualizes the procedural generation as well. They've actually made it part of the sort of ludonarrative of the game. It's very well done in that regard, in my opinion. And I am not usually a big fan of procedural generation stuff. No Man's Sky just did not like. So my thoughts on Witcher 3? I like the game. I think Yennefer is one of the best female characters in games, period, hands down, ever. Big, big leap from The Witcher 2. I did play the original Fallout, like the old isometric interplay game. Yes, I did. I hate that this picture capture slips if I accidentally scroll. Ah, get it back. Come on, thing. There we go. It's proper again. I like Bayonetta as well. It's funny, every Bayonetta game, I play it for a bit, go, okay, um, this is awesome, I get my little fix, and then I leave it for a really long time, and then I go back and finish it. Uh, One of my favorite Bayonetta moments is when she kicks the plane in one of the opening scenes in Bayonetta 2. She just kicked the fucking plane. That's awesome. I've played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I haven't played any of the others. They're cute. I like Disney. I like the way it combines with Kingdom Hearts. They're super easy, but sometimes in the mood for that. I played System Shock 2. I do think the Minions phone name, I really do think the Minions kind of stole. They're not quite the same, but they're really similar, aren't they? We talked about diversity versus historical accuracy in Call of Duty World War II below. Before, I'm not enough of a Call of Duty fan to really have a strong opinion on that. I think people that's a very personal thing. I don't know. I'm not a COD fan, so I sorry, getting below. What's my opinion overall of this year's E3? I found it kind of lackluster myself too. It was a good year to not pay the money to go. Best King's Quest game. Oh shit, that's a hard one. Oh, I really liked 1. I really liked 5. I really liked 6. So those would probably be my top 3. But 2 was pretty good as well. And parts of 3 were kind of like my I mean, the nostalgia's with the first one because that was the first kind of game I ever played like that. And I'm trying to remember which one 4 was. My favorite RPG. Like RPG video game that's actually an RPG and not like an open world combat thing. Because the original the Planescape Torment was pretty great. Dragon Age Origins was really good too. Yeah, I like the one where I played as the daughter. But what was... No, 4 was the one we played. Yeah, I didn't like that as much as 5, but I do like that one. Like, the only King's Quest game I absolutely did not like was Mask of Eternity. See, Phoname, it's funny because going back and playing the original Tomb Raider and then the anniversary game, I realize I am doing that thing that is supposed to be misogynies. The Fire Emblem games are probably my favorite non-square JRPG. But I am going back and laughing at the ragdoll deaths in Tomb Raider. Because in the original one, she kind of collapses and she looks like a soft, like, thing of poo. It's just like, and she's like a lump of poo. And that's funny. But then, I mean, God, you do some of those jumps. And there was one I kept missing the other night. And it became so funny. Because I kept, if I was going to, oh, good point. Fire Emblem isn't JRPG. Give me a moment on that one. I kept, because I was going to miss the jump anyway, while I was trying to get it, if I was going to miss the jump, I was going to have her bounce off the rock and into the water, and I just ended up finding it so funny. I really like Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of just Planescape Torment just edges it out for me. JRPG. Trying to go back and think. I know there's one I'm missing. I mean, Final Fantasy III is one of my all-time favorite games. And I know that's really old, but that's the first one that kind of comes to mind. Okay, you guys know King's Quest. I was trying to remember on Wednesday, which is the one, because it's the one with Alexander, right? Which is 6, isn't it? Where the King Anthony song is, "We're the ants of our King Anthony, we're coming to help King Graham." That one, and it goes on and on and on. That's 6, right? See, the thing about The Witcher 3, Maxim Reality, I put action RPGs and RPGs as in separate categories. They're not the same for me. So, an action RPG is something like Horizon Zero Dawn or The Witcher 3. A straight up RPG needs far more choice than those games offer in terms of narrative. So they're different things to me. They're actually different genres. The expectations are very different. And yeah, Final Fantasy 3 is in Final Fantasy 3. No, like the one where they were still chibis. Power Piglet, well done. See, Horizon Zero Dawn is an action RPG, and then by the skin of its teeth instead of in the dialogue and choice in Horizon in terms of the narrative sections was cosmetic at best. Hack and slash RPG, like the Snowblind games and things like that, they're action RPGs. This might be the longest Leanna stream ever, yeah. And I am gonna wrap. I said I was gonna wrap at the 2-hour mark, but then people started asking me about games. Yeah. Yeah. The one that was remade for the DS, Final Fantasy 3. I actually made Ed a red wizard and the priest outfits from Final Fantasy 3 for a LARP segment we did. So if you go back and watch, you can see that little froofy priest outfit he's wearing is the priest from Final Fantasy 3. Tides of Numenera, it's short, Stephen, but I really enjoyed it. It definitely is. I like the fact you can talk your way out of practically every encounter if your stats are right. I enjoyed Tides of Numenera. It did take me back. And yes, phoneme, the Steam sale hurt my wallet. Zork! You may be eaten by a grue. Classic. Thanks, Maxim. Oh, Nathan, that's evil. Yeah. I didn't mind the combat, Helen. You hated it? I got Prison Architect, and I always forget what I bought on the Steam. I bought most of the Tomb Raider games because they were dirt cheap on the Steam sale. That was really nice. Saved me some money. So I've been playing Prison Architect mostly. I think I bought, this is kind of sad. I bought Shadows of Mordor for the PC because I played it on PS4 and didn't finish it, but it was so cheap on PC that I just got it for PC. Favorite soundtrack from a game? Tropico. Tropico has the best soundtrack. I get up and I just dance. Tropico, so good. It's like getting my merengue on. Love Tropico. Okay? Love the music. Other good... I mean, the Halo soundtracks are awesome. Really like the way they did music on Far Cry Primal. Saints Row has a really great soundtrack. Saints Row 3 and 4. Es Presidente! Watch Dogs 2 is good. I like the channels on Watch Dogs 2 too. I mean, you can customize that so much in Watch Dogs 2, but the song selections are very good. Ubi has some great music people. Trying to think of other... I mean, Skyrim has that great iconic theme, but I'm kind of over it. Stop focus. Thank you. Yeah, have you tried the capitalism games, Roddy? God, Tex Murphy. I don't remember if I played the Tex Murphy games or I've just heard of them. We will finish this stream after the victory. That's my Tropico impression. Citizens of Kekistan, this is Tropico. I like the theme in Morrowind too. It's just the Skyrim theme is immediately like, boom, awesome. What Cities game did I play? Cities XL, I think I played. Yeah. Because I had to review that one. Oh yeah, The Last Door has a good soundtrack? Yeah, Devil May Cry was pretty good. Yeah, Ori and the Blind Forest soundtrack was pretty beautiful. That would be a funny alternate character, eh? El Presidente of Kakistan. Helen's really biased in favor of Witcher 3. Yeah? Skylines is a lot better than XL? Yeah. Tropico always makes me want to burst out into songs from Evita too. Because it's that whole making the big speech, right? Like I'll be playing Tropico and I'll catch myself going, "Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you." Because when nerds collide, awesome things happen. Oh, really? So wait, the Kekistan is actually the location of Far Cry 2. That's some pretty good music too. In the Far Cry games, pretty good. Dishonored soundtrack. Oh, the earliest system I had? The Atari 2600. Truth. Cabbage Patch Face. No, you get LOL area in Kekistan. I went there. Yeah, oh. Thing about the Fallout soundtracks, though, is they need more songs. They need to unlock songs as it's going along, because the worst is when you get caught singing a retroactively racist song from Fallout on the subway. Like, I caught myself going like, bingo banga bongo, I don't want to leave the Congo, no 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 no. You know, and that song is awful in, you know, like, bingo, banga, bongo, I'm so happy in the jungle, I refuse. And he's putting on that accent, and it's like, oh, but it's catchy. And people give you weird looks. And it's funny when you hear one of the songs from Fallout in any other context, you can't help but think about Fallout. Come on, thing. Yeah, some of the music in WoW is pretty great. I did play a ColecoVision. Loved the Commodore 64. My friends in Guelph had a Commodore 64. And I just thought that system was magical. And, oh man, it just I thought there was something cool about how you actually had to type, like it was, because I hadn't started playing PC games yet. And they had to type DOS prompt stuff to get in, and then you get into the game, and the games are so cool. Like, it was things like Mule and Archon and that Quest for Tires game, and then that track and field game, and it was just so. I did play ET for Atari. Pac-Man and Space Invaders were like my jam, and Missile Command. But the Commodore 64 was just like, it was like, when I was a kid, I was like, I'll never be able to have anything this cool. Like, I'll never have anything like this. This is something for like rich people, you know? And the 64 was just, oh, it was just a magical system as far as I was concerned. And then you get on PC, and, you know, There was a period where I wasn't console gaming in the late 90s, like 96 to when I got back into it. I got a PS2 quite late. It's funny because I got a PS1 and then was very late on PS2 because I kind of slipped out of console gaming. Played a lot of, like, that's when I was in my big RPG strategy kick, like, you know, games like Age of Empires and Civilization and Caesar and all that stuff for the PC, because that was when I was in university and didn't have as much time to play like action games. I could play a bit, like if I was writing a paper, or I could play, if I got stuck, I'd play the game a bit and then write again. So, you know, I went a period where I wasn't console gaming. But then, I mean, the PS2 was just, the original PlayStation was an amazing thing. I still remember one of my favorite games for the original PS, was a game called Bug, where it was like this little cartoon insect where he was like an action star, and instead of shooting things, you spit at people. Yeah, oh, Fode, my husband still says, what happened to plebs are needed? That's what he calls the Caesar games. Plebs are needed. Because that's all he'd hear. Plebs are needed! It was a pretty epic announcer voice, though, in the Caesar games. Plebs are needed! And Civilization 2 is still, like, emotionally my favorite Civilization game. I have not played Stronghold Crusader. Is it good? Because somebody who's another Steam, somebody who's I'm a friend of Steam on, is always playing Crusader Kings, and I'm like, is that good? I remember the Amiga. Thanks, Maxim. I should really go too. It's been 2.5 hours, which means no one is going to watch this after the fact. I don't think. I find that my audience will go up to an hour, and then they just won't watch. 2.5 hours, too long. I have played the latest Civ. I actually have it on CD. I don't know where it went. But I like that it's a game. Somebody actually got it for me as a gift and sent it to me as a CD, and I'm like, sweet. I can't find them. But, yeah, I kind of liked that it was a game that it came on a CD, and I put it in my computer. It was like nostalgia. I loved the original Warcraft games. Stop poking me! I love those games. Interesting. Okay. But I will wrap now because we can talk about video games next time as well. Yeah, thanks guys. Maybe I'll do Extra Life this year and just stream for 24 hours, play different games. Pause to pee and check on squirrels that try to jump into my window. If you miss the first hour, you miss the squirrel. Try to attack my cat through the window. So I'm going to check if there's a dead squirrel on my back deck now. What a way to end. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Momo Monday. Bye.